out there. Here I am again playing Subnautica. And partly why it's been so long since I've done Subnautica is because, well, I promised I would watch Mary Poppins Returns, and I hadn't had time to watch it, so I finally watched it. I mean, I've watched it before, but I was having trouble remembering lots of it. I still go by what I had said before, that it is a good movie. It's not a timeless classic, like Mary Poppins is. It's got its flaws, but, it was a TV movie, if I remember right, or straight to Disney Plus. But it holds its own. I mean, there are some things that are really annoying about it. Some things, okay, I wish they would have done better, but there's no way they're going to be as good as the original. And that's what you got to go in thinking when you watch this movie. It is worth watching, but it's nowhere near the original. One of the biggest flaws is the music. Granted, not bad. You could tell they were trying to be, on the style of the original with their music. But not a timeless classic. None of those will be timeless classics, like, say, Supercalifragilistic. Or, Spoonful of Sugar. But they're not bad songs. I mean, one of my favorites in the movie actually is at the end, but I'll get there because I've got a theory about something at the end. Got a few theories about the movie. One of them actually is it's been around for a while. This one I'll talk about now. In the original, people always thought, well, I think it's a given that Bert was one of Mary Poppins' children she took care of. But more on that theory is there's a theory that he is the youngest son of the bank owner. And I think with this movie it kind of confirms that. When I get closer to describing the end of the movie, I'll talk about that. But I do believe that I think that theory is pretty much confirmed. Didn't get a bad actress to play Mary Poppins. I don't think you could definitely tell she was trying. But, I mean, she's no Julia Andrews. The new one doesn't do bad. The main plot, aside from all the, the witchcraft, is that Michael, supposed to be from the original Michael, but it's definitely a different actor. Unfortunately, the original actor could not come back. Actually, I did a little research on this because I knew some of the original actors, they would not have been able to come back. And when we talk about the movie, I needed to research why others couldn't, which ones couldn't come back. And in doing so, like I said, I found out he had died, the original Michael. He actually died at the age of 21. Sucks, because he was in some pretty good movies, Mary Poppins being one of them. No Mobile. I probably review that one too. I really liked that one growing up. It is dated, but so is Mary Poppins. Jane, actually, when I was looking up her, I found out not only is she still alive, she actually was in the movie. You couldn't tell it was her, even though I've seen, while looking up her now, I've seen pictures of her, and she looks just like an older version of what she did when she was a kid, but you never noticed her in the movie. Now, in the original movie, you had this old lady with a dog. I think she was in a wheelchair in that movie, so I don't know if it's supposed to be exactly the same lady, but she's credited as the pronounce this right, elegant lady. Is that how she's credited as? But she's basically the old lady from the first movie with the dog. Whether it's supposed to be exactly the same character, maybe not. But you know that they were at least trying to reference that character. And it was nice that the original actress playing Jane came back. However, well, we'll get to that when we talk about plot, because I think there was a way they could have made this movie better, and the plot is the issue. Well, kinda. The main plot is the family is about to lose their home because of a loan that was that Michael had put in. Alright, and hold on, let me backtrack a little bit. We'll go back to the Michael character. I think he's kind of a jerk in the movie. He doesn't feel like he would have been the same Michael, and that's one of my issues with this. Jane, the actress who played Jane, that is actually supposed to be Jane. Actually, I could see that being how Jane would be in the future version of Jane. But the Michael character, I just didn't feel that for. He was a jerk to his kids. He didn't feel right. That's just my opinion on that. Maybe I'm wrong for that opinion, but it's my opinion. Oh, here's one of the other issues I had with the movie. Like I said, the bank's trying to, want to foreclose on the house, but it really seems like they're really wanting the house for some reason. Like, he's like acting like he, was going to try to work with Michael while not working with Michael. So that seems a little weird. I mean, it's like, okay, why do you want the house so badly? Is it some historical building? Is it like your father's childhood home? I don't know. It does not explain. That's the problem with the plot, is it doesn't really explain the plot. Take away the problem with the plot. The movie as a whole is really good. It's fun to watch. You can it feels like a Mary Poppins movie. I mean, there are parts that are definitely not as good, of course, like I said, but you can tell it's supposed to be Mary Poppins. Like at one point they jump into a bowl that was their mother's that has drawings on it. Sound familiar? If you watched the original, you would know. They jumped into a chalk drawing. And actually, if it wasn't for the song, like I said, the song's not as good as the original. However, everything else about this scene, actually, I kind of like better. It actually has a moral value in it, or kind of moral value, but there was actually a dilemma when they jumped in there. Basically, there's this wolf, and and decided to steal everything from the nursery while they're at this circus, basically. And actually, the wolf is supposed to be representing the banker. I like that they actually were keeping a good, reference between the real world and these fictional worlds that she jumps them into. Actually, and I just think that it was done better for that. The other thing I think they did better with this scene is, in the original, if I do this right, I'll be having a clip right here. You'll see when they jump in, their clothes change, but they're not. They're just special for the they're like a fancy dress of their time period. However, in the Mary Poppins Returns, it actually feels like the clothes are from that world. they look like they're drawn rather than their actual fabric. I mean, you could tell they're actual fabric, but like the details are drawn, like the bow ties and just details like that. They're actually drawn on, and it just feels like it's part of that world. I mean, they just did really good with that. But again, the plot doesn't hold up. It is probably the biggest issue. I can get over the music. I mean, the songs aren't bad. But you know, they just don't compare to the original. But there's no way they were going to. I mean, well, I guess that's plausible. They could have, you know, but now there's a scene in the original, you know, that has the song "I Love to Laugh." Great song. Another one of those timeless ones from the movie. But they had a scene that was supposed to be representing that, and it's kind of a fun scene. I mean, okay, it is a fun scene, but it's not as good. But it's not, like I said, not bad. If you have just a song, no, it's not very good. But when you take the scene as a whole, it's really good. The song, you know, represents the scene going on, kind of like "I Love to Laugh" did. You know, and so it works. It works for the movie. But again, if you take it out of the movie, it doesn't hold up. Unlike "I Love to Laugh." I mean, I like listening to Disney music, and that's what I'll listen to that one along with a lot of the others from that movie, from the original movie. You got a new character who's supposed to be the Bert of the show. Actually, I really like him. He's one of my favorite things about the movie. I could actually see him being the child or grandchild of Bert. That's one of my personal theories, is that he is. He's a lamplighter, but I could see him doing other things like Bert did. I had fun watching the scene, especially the scenes with him. I really liked watching those. The beginning of the movie actually did start out with a song. Oh, wrong. Which is part of the problem with these songs, is not necessarily bad, but they're forgettable. I mean, I just watched it. I can't even think of that song. But it does feel, the scene feels reminiscent of Spoonful of Sugar. Now, instead of cleaning up the nursery, she's trying to get him to take a bath, and you see, and in her special bag, she's throwing in various items like a boat, coins, yeah, just a variety of different things. Rubber ducky, or the one. Just throwing in a variety of things that a kid would actually have in the bathtub.
30 seconds.
And
detecting increased foreign bacterial levels in the water. Performing a self-scan is advised.
And yeah, it's a really good scene. I mean, it's going into another world again, which Mary Poppins really the original only did once. But I find it acceptable. I mean, I don't know about other people. And again, this is reviews on my opinion. I mean, if you don't like the movie, hey, I can see why you wouldn't like it. I mean, a lot of people going into it are going to be like, when they watch it, like, this isn't as good as the original. And again, there's no way it's going to be as good as the original. Mary Poppins is a timeless classic. Yeah, so that scene was fun. I mean, like I said, it was kind of reminiscent because she was trying to get them to enjoy being in a bath, and they had, because they didn't want to take a bath. I think it's too early, but it's like, you're dirty, you need to take a bath. Now, again, the whole thing with the bank, it doesn't make much sense. They don't explain why that he was so intent on getting the house. That's the thing. It bugs me so much that they did not explain that. That alone would have made the movie better. Just explaining why he's so interested in the house. He doesn't, so yeah, it's falls short because of that. But there are other things that could have made the movie better, even if they kept that plot and had explained everything. Like, I don't think they should have done Michael's kids. And this was part of the reason I was looking up what actors were still alive. I have my own plot that they should have done. Well, I mean, again, they could have kept the whole bank trying to take the house, except explain why. What they should have done is either Michael's grandkids or Jane's grandkids and her child. And I say Jane, I would rather it be Jane because the actress is still alive and could have made a brief cameo like Dick Van Dyke did close to the end of the movie. In fact, probably even the same scene she could have came in. Like, they were friends, saying because he was on a trip or something. Well, again, they don't really. This is just going on by the theory that Bert is the youngest son of the bank owner. He comes back into the bank. It's like, get out of here, nephew. Character that I believe is supposed to be Bert, and the way he acts and things he says, it pretty much confirms he's Bert. Like, he at one point, he's like, let me tell you a story of a guy with a wooden leg named Smith. Then he looked at Mary Poppins as he's chuckling about it, and she just kind of gives him a look. And if you remember right, he's the one who started that story in Mary Poppins during the I Love to Laugh song. So that pretty much, I think, confirms that he is Bert. And he is the youngest son of the bank owner from the original. But anyways, he comes in and gives his nephew the axe. I'm like, you're fired. Get out of here. And actually, they do refer to the bank manager as his nephew. So that's not a theory that those two are related. But he goes to talking to the Michael character, which again, if they done it the way I think they should have done it, where it's the kid of one of the originals. He would be talking to the kid, of the whatever original main character. Started to do this. He started to do that Smith story. Then he switches to, let me tell you a story about a boy named Michael, which, being that it's their father in this version, it's like, let me tell you a story of your dad. I think being the uncle has passed on, would make a little more sense because partly because they can have original actors play, the original actors play Jane, and maybe have actually had her daughter, the actress who plays Jane, be her daughter. Now, they could have came up with some story that they're, just friends and went on a trip together, which they were friends, her and Jane and the Bert character. So it wouldn't be unheard of that they went on a trip together. Maybe even have Jane's husband show up too. But anyways, he tells this story of Michael when he was little, and wanting to give this bird lady his tuppence, his money for, the birds, to feed the birds. But his father wanted, if you've seen the original, the original story where the father wanted him to give it to the bank and open an account. And also, if you remember the original story, his father ends up giving the bank owner the tuppence. Like, here, this is what's called all the problems here. Take it. The money was actually ended up being invested, and of course having a savings account and re-put back in, according to the character I believe to be Bert. As you know, so it's come to a pretty hefty sum, and enough to pay off your loan. You don't owe us a thing. And it doesn't. If he wasn't Bert, that story what happened wouldn't have made sense. You know, nobody but Bert would have made sure that money got invested well and reinvested, and you know. Though my theory, it's Bert, and yeah, it really was never really invested. He just knew that the money was given to his father. Yes, Seamoth. I gotta go make that stuff now. But yeah, so yeah, it makes no sense that it would make no sense that it wasn't Bert that he did all this. Like I said, I don't think that the money was ever actually invested. It's just Bert being like, "You don't owe me a thing," you know. It makes more sense that just Bert being like, "Yeah, no, don't worry about it." You know, so they end up getting to keep their house, and they don't have to worry about moving. Now, let's get to the balloon lady, who, from what I've looked up, it was supposed to just be a representation of the bird lady in the original movie, which I can kind of accept that. Oh, yes, yes, yes. But it's played by Angela Lansbury. Now, not everybody would know this. At the same time they were trying to pitch the idea for Mary Poppins, they were pitching another movie as a backup movie, which still ended up being made, by the way. That movie, by name, is Bedknobs and Broomsticks. And it is set in around the same time period outside of London. However, they tend to travel to London a lot. If you've watched Bedknobs and Broomsticks, then you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. I'll end up making a review of that one. But just to summarize, Miss Price is played by Angela Lansbury, and then she is a witch. Well, witch in training, but she never finishes her training. As we know, Mary Poppins is a witch. A fully trained witch. Now, a fully trained witch could probably do anything, including slow your aging. Angela Lansbury's character, the Bloom Lady, is an old lady. Here are my thoughts on this. Because she was only a witch in training and never finished her training, and didn't have proper training, she never learned how to slow her aging, and I don't think she would have wanted to anyways. She fell in love, which, not that Mary Poppins never fell in love, but I feel like she would have just wanted to stay the way she was. If you haven't seen the movie, you should go watch it, and you'll understand. She ended up adopting these kids, or it seemed like she did. Which is another reason I don't think she would have wanted to live forever. She also was just learning to be a witch to help with the war effort. Not a fully trained witch, and again, don't think she'd want to live forever. I think Mary Poppins found a spell that made her end up living forever. One of the things that makes me think it is her character, her same character, is something interesting happens with the balloons that she's selling to people. They started to fly with them. And that, to me, seems like a good indication that she's probably a witch too, and she knows Mary Poppins. And being witches, I wouldn't be surprised if they met up at one point or another. Now, again, I would have loved Julie Andrews to be in the movie. It would have been awesome. But I don't know why she wasn't. I don't know if she didn't want to be associated with it or what. But she wasn't part of it. She wasn't in the movie. In some ways, I think she should have been the balloon lady. No real reason I think she should have been the balloon lady. Just that it would have been a good place for her to be. But I think it's just one of those, like, a nice little Easter egg that they're not openly saying it's Angela Lansbury's character, Mrs. Price, but they're not saying it's not either. I don't see a problem at being Mrs. Price's character. I mean, they're in the assumably they're in the same universe. Mrs. Price has gone to London before. The only thing they would need to explain, if you've seen Bedknobs and Broomsticks, you'll know the actor who played Mr. Amelia Brown is the same actor who played Mr. Banks. Now, they have different personalities, so you know they're not supposed to be the same character. But could they be related? I mean, he originally lived in London. The actor played Mr. Brown, or Dr. Emilius Brown. So what would be the problem of them being related somehow? Brothers or cousins? Cousins would probably work better since they had different last names. And that's not a time period where the man would have taken on the woman's name. I don't know if men have ever taken on the woman's name in our time now, but I digress. It wouldn't be unheard of that they could have been related, I think.
Fast, safe mode of transport, but remember that swimming is good for your glutes and endorphin levels.
I mean, those are just my theories of the connection between Bedknobs and Broomstick and Mary Poppins Returns. Unconfirmed, but with a decent basis to go on. It's just a theory. Nope. Can't finish that. I might get copyrighted. If you get the reference I was going with, that's a good channel to watch. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the game theorists, the film theorists, the food theorists, the style theorists. They're all the same person, but I'd have to double check, and I'll confirm it in either in a post edit of this or in the next video. I do. The next video I'll actually do some progression other than just a little farming and getting the sea moth. This one I mostly wanted to talk about the movie I promised to talk about. And a theory they did, I think they did, I'll confirm it and let you know. But I believe it was them. It was either them or somebody else, obviously. But about how much money Michael would have gotten from those toppins. Like I said, believe it was him, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to go look, and I'll even talk about how much possibly they would have made if I find their video, or I'll just link it in the description if I find it, and then you can watch their video on that. Yeah, I know. I shout out a lot of YouTubers that are so well known they don't need me to shout out, but they're great for a reason, and I'm shouting them out for a reason, because they are great. If you guys haven't watched them, well, you should be watching them. If you're watching my video, you should be watching them. They're better YouTubers than me. I'm just an amateur. I'd like to get to their level someday, but that takes time and, well, viewers. And I have got to perfect my, videos before then. And again, in some of my other videos, right now I'm just doing this for fun. It's a hobby. It's not doing it for money. I'm doing it for fun. And I know I said something about, copyright. Well, I'm not making money yet, but I hope to make money. I'll find out about that. If it turns out to be true, I'll link it in the description when I post this video. Mary Poppins Returns is an okay movie, but it had a lot to compete with. It's the original movie. It had a lot to live up to, and yeah, it fell short a little. But that doesn't make it a bad movie. It just makes it not as good as the original. They did try. You could tell that they tried to be like the original. There's not a lot of CGI, or if there is, you can't tell it's CGI. They have the painted backgrounds like they did in the original. The original did it because, well, that's the way there was technology back then, they were limited. But the remake was just trying to match the original, and that was great. There was a running thing through the whole movie about, if you remember Admiral Boom always shooting off the cannon, they don't really explain it in the original. Apparently he does it every hour. They didn't really explain that in the original. However, Mary Poppins Returns does say that he does it every hour. And he's always complaining, well, at least when they kind of focus on him in Mary Poppins Return, that Big Ben is 5 minutes fast. Now, it actually does get revisited by the end of the movie. Michael has to get to the bank. He found something that he needed to take to the bank to try to get exchanged for paying off the house. Shares to the bank that his father had bought years before, obviously, when he was a co-owner. Yes. Why is I had to actually ask this. Why is he not a co-owner himself now, Michael? Well, you'd think his dad would have passed on the ownership. But, whatever, on that. That is a plot hole that never is explained. The Learys, they're like the chimney sweeps of the movie, are helping them by rolling back time. Michael's daughter's like, Mary Poppins, you've told us nothing is impossible as long as you've set your mind to it, basically. And she's like, right, you're right. So the Learys and the Bert character, I forget his name. He's a great character, but I can't remember his name. Jack. I remember. I just clicked Jack. They rush to Big Ben, and they climb up it. They using their lamp lighting ladders to zigzag their way up. And they turned off the fire that was behind it, because back then they didn't have electricity. So they had fire that lit up the Big Ben. Mary Poppins ends up flying up and rolling the clock back 5 minutes. And then they cut to Admiral Boom at midnight, and it's like, Big Ben finally got it right. Admiral Boone actually gets a little bigger role in this movie, and I like not a lot, but enough to make him a fun character to see. Because before he just seemed like a little bit of a grumpy old man. It's a cheap version of Mary Poppins, but you can feel Mary Poppins in it. It's a movie worth watching. It's got its flaws, but even Mary Poppins had some flaws. Maybe over time we can overlook the flaws of this one. Because I'm sure there were a lot of people who criticized Mary Poppins back when it originally came out. And now people look at those criticisms, well, it was just a product of its time, you know, it was limited by what they could do because of when it came out, you know, and nobody looks at those flaws anymore. Maybe that'll happen with this one. They could have done, instead of using the Banks family again, they could have done two other things, potentially. They could have, A, shown us when Mary Poppins went with and was with Bert when he was a kid, or they could have done a different family entirely and actually made a series out of this. I know. Crazy talk. We don't want a series of Mary Poppins. They do it so much that we may not even like the original. I'm just saying they could have made it like an anthology with the only factor tying them in is Mary Poppins herself. I don't know if I've already done... have I already done reviews of the Home Alone movies? If I haven't done a review of the Home Alone movies, I'm going to do those come Christmas time. They sort of did that with that, and then of course they did it to death, and they should have stopped after the third one. I liked the third one. I know a lot of people don't. I'll get into that, come when I do those movies closer to Christmas time. Anywho, y'all have fun out there.